Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Love Meets Literature. Very excited for today's episode. It is our November Aardvark picks. Before we begin, I am your host, Rachel, and you can find me on Instagram at Paperbacks and Sketchbooks.
And I am your other host, Joe, and you can find us at Love Meets Literature.
You can find us on every corner of the internet, so please do give us a follow. It will help us immensely. So it's finally super cold outside, and I'm loving it because I feel like I just read a lot more when it's cold out because we're not really going out and about and doing anything. We're just staying in, and there's not much to do when you stay inside other than read.
Yeah, that's true. This is my favorite time of the year because it's not incredibly cold. So when you do go outside, you still can do things without shivering and freezing and having to wear the 900 layers and gloves and hats. So it's not quite that cold, but it's got a nice chill to the air. So you can throw on like your coats and your sweaters. And I like that. I like being able to dress up in just a few layers without still freezing.
I do like that, but also at night it gets very, very cold. So if you do go out somewhere, then if you're out past sundown, you're freezing.
That is true, especially because daylight savings just passed. So if you are out past sundown, which comes very quickly now, it will be very cold.
Yes. Goodbye to the sun at like 4 p.m. now, I guess.
Yeah.
So how has your past reading week been?
I have taken a small break. I didn't read really anything this weekend. Nothing book or novel related, mainly just Reddit posts and things that probably aren't considered reading. Though I did read some Wikipedia, so I'll take that. That's like a half a point if I was a teacher grading the homework.
Well, what are you reading on Wikipedia?
Sometimes I just get like a pop-up that's like featured article, and it'll just be like, I don't know, some famous football player or something, and I'll just tap on it and read about him. So I don't know, I got like 10 minutes to kill, not doing anything.
Interesting. Well, I mean, I guess you're still reading, so I guess it still counts as reading.
I also like to, like, if we go somewhere and we're like doing something and it's, I don't know, noteworthy, I usually look up like why it came about or like the organization involved. Like watching football, for example, I'll look up like the NFL organization, or I'll look up like one of the teams that we're watching just to see like, you know, their information, if there's anything notable that I don't know about them. It mainly applies to like things I'm not familiar with. I know a little bit about football, but like when I was watching golf, I would just like look up the person because I have no idea or context who these people are.
Interesting.
I mean, you got to learn about them somehow.
I mean, I guess.
The alternative is to just like scroll on Reddit or Instagram or something. So I'd rather at least learn something.
Yeah, you've got a point there. Doom scrolling has become very old.
Yeah, it's to the point now where I can identify when I'm doing it. And so I just immediately put my phone down and do anything else.
Sometimes it's so hard for me though, because I recognize that all I'm doing is scrolling and looking at nonsense. And in my brain, I'm like, I need to put this down and I need to do something else. But for some reason, I have like paralysis and I can't move out of my sitting position with my phone in my hand staring at nothing.
I'll give you a little tip. This is what I do. I have either two things. It's if you ever see me just get up and walk to the kitchen and I just like start opening cabinets in the fridge and looking at stuff, that's because I caught myself doom scrolling and I'm forcing myself to get up and do, like I said, literally anything. However, if you don't want to do that, one of the things I do to like recognize if I'm doom scrolling is if I get like a type of video, I'll pick it in my head. So like, for instance, I'll do advertisements a lot. As soon as I get 3 advertisements, I put down my phone, just like put it down somewhere. So like if you're comfortable and you don't want to get up, you get 3 advertisements, you can just put your phone like on the bed or on the table next to you or something. And then it, I don't know, helps. At least it helps me. Because if I just open another app, then I'll just eventually make my way back to like Instagram. I do that a lot with like political ads. If I see a political ad, I'll just like put down my phone because at this point I'm kind of overseeing ads of any kind, but especially political ones.
I do really hate ads.
They're getting so intrusive.
They're everywhere.
They're inside, and you don't use Reddit or very infrequently, but they are now inside the comments.
Really?
And they're like staged in there. So like what you do when you read Reddit is like you tap on the top bar, kind of. It's hard to explain, but you tap on the top bar and it like collapses the previous comments. That way you can read the next series of them easily, basically. However, they've hidden the ads in there. So now if you're tapping them and you're like trying to clear them out of the way, you'll accidentally tap on an ad and then it takes you to their page and then you're just like annoyed and angry. And that's why I've started doing that. Like if I run into an ad, I just put my phone down because now I'm angry.
I hate that. I hate ads so much. I hate that they're everywhere. What happened to the ad-free world?
I don't know, but I think it's long gone. Sorry, I got off on a tangent about ads. So back to the fun fall and exciting parts about the holidays, which leads me to the question of what's your favorite part about the holidays?
You skipped over what I read this week.
Oh, what did you read this week?
Well, I just finished reading Ask for Andrea by Noelle W. Ely, which is a book we mentioned on our previous episode for paranormal thrillers. And it's the one that was about the 3 victims of the murderer. And they are ghosts. And it actually met all of my expectations. And it was so, so good. So it was actually told from the points of view of the 3 victims. So at the beginning, we got to see how each victim was murdered. So there was no confusion whatsoever if they were dead or alive. Like you knew from the start that these 3 girls were unalived by this man. Then the story progresses by showing what each girl is doing after they realize that they are a ghost. And mind you, these all take place in different years. So we start off with Brescia, who was his victim 2 years ago. And she stays with him and his family in his house. He has a family. So this entire time, he's meeting people on a dating app and going out with them and deciding whether or not he's going to kill them. And he tries to kill them because he drugs their drinks, but it doesn't always work. So Brescia is the ghost that stays with him and his family. She's like kind of watching over them in a way. And she goes with him on all of his dates. And then we have Megan, who was murdered 1 year ago by this man. And she is kind of lost in the woods. Nobody has found her body yet. And then we have Sky, who's the present day. She was just murdered by this man. The way all 3 storylines connect is just so well done. Brescia's point of view is kind of the forwarding aspect of the story, since she is the one that was killed first. Since she was 2 years ago, and since she follows this man everywhere, she witnessed Megan fall into his trap. And Megan is the other victim that we have a point of view from 1 year ago. And then somehow they all collide in the present day. And everything is just falling apart for this guy. He's devolving. The police are on his tail now. And his wife is starting to get suspicious. He has 2 little girls too. And so you can just tell it's not going to end well for our killer over here. And the ending of this book was so satisfying. I loved everything about it. The story was just done so well. It was so unique. Like, I just loved that these girls were ghosts haunting this man. It was amazing. And they actually were kind of messing with him, which I was hoping that they would do. Like this one girl, the girl who was in his house, Brescia, she kept shutting down his computer and like restarting it every time that he tried to talk to a girl on this dating app. And she also like made the power go out in his house multiple times, and he got a new computer and she like made that one act up too. Like it was ridiculous in the best way. And I feel like that's what an angry ghost would do. They would just like do stupid things like that. And I loved it. It was a great book. Highly recommend for any thriller lover, paranormal thriller lover. Like it was very well done for a ghost story. And it was like not your traditional ghost story.
Was this the one by the author that you didn't like their first book that you read? I think that was it.
Yes. Noelle W. Ely wrote Run on Red, and I wasn't a huge fan of that one because I thought it was just very over the top ridiculous. But this one, oh my God, 5 stars. Like Ask for Andrea, so good.
There you go. Second chances do exist.
They do exist, and that's why I always say you can't just like one and done an author because they might have written something that wasn't really for you, but then something else they wrote could have been like perfect, amazing. You love everything about it.
That's true. You do say that a lot.
Exactly. And I proved myself right. So now getting into the holidays. You jumped the gun there for a second.
Sorry. I was just so excited by the holidays.
You're just so excited about the holidays, but I just had to rave about Ask for Andrea first. So the holidays, what are you excited for?
I am in the minority usually because I am a big Thanksgiving lover. And a lot of people I know get focused on Christmas.
I mean, Thanksgiving is fine. I'm just like, I'm not a turkey fan. I'm not like a huge fan of all the food. I'm kind of a picky-ish eater. I've gotten better with Thanksgiving food in recent years. I've branched out to eating more of the side dishes.
I, on the other hand, absolutely love Thanksgiving food. It's one of my favorite genres of food.
Well, it really depends like whose house I go to for Thanksgiving because sometimes like I go to one person's house and I'm not a fan of what food they have. But then if I go to another person's house, it's like, yes, this is the food I like.
That is true. I definitely think it depends on where you're going. Because like I've gone to, my family usually cooks like roughly the same thing every year. And it's usually really good. Your family also cooks really good Thanksgiving food. But I've gone to like friends in the past and they're eating some weird stuff and I'm like, this is not typical.
It's always risky going to a friend's house for a holiday meal because you never know what's going to end up on your plate.
Yeah, that's true. I remember when I was younger, probably like early high school, I went to a friend's house for Thanksgiving because they were doing like the Thanksgiving party the weekend after or something. And I went there. And long story short, they were serving what they claimed to be green bean casserole. And I like green bean casserole.
It's the like creamy green beans with the crunchy onion things on top.
Exactly. Yeah. And what I scooped onto my plate was not that. I have no idea. To this day, I still have no idea what was exactly in it, but it was disgusting.
But what do you think was in it?
If I had to guess, it was all the normal stuff, but then like a bunch of extra vegetables, which to me is like, it's green bean casserole, not vegetable casserole. But anyway, the big thing is I think there was like olives or something in it because it was so tangy and I was not expecting that.
So a casserole is typically like, let's say green bean casserole, for example. There's usually some like creamy, cheesy kind of element to it.
Yeah, usually.
So green bean casserole, at least the way my mother makes it, she uses a can of cream of mushroom soup.
Yes.
I feel like that's classic casserole building. You need like your main component and then you need to add like lots of creamy things to it, and then you have to add like that crunchy top layer to like any casserole. I feel like that's classic casserole building right there. So what you're describing doesn't even really sound like a casserole.
No, it still had like the crunchy bits and it still had like a cream of something soup, but then there was just like a bunch of extra stuff in it.
They really like took the casserole thing to like the literal level.
It was, and you know, like green bean casserole kind of like when you scoop it out, it doesn't like hold its shape. It kind of like falls a little bit.
Yeah.
Not into like a liquid. This held its shape perfectly. Like you cut a cake. It was very like gelatinous. I don't know.
Well,
it was,
I
was not a
wonder
fan.
I wonder if they added gelatin to it to make it hold its shape.
I don't know. It was made by the friend's very elderly relative. So I'm assuming there's some old school aspect in there, like a weird dish someone's grandma's grandma used to make or something. I'm not sure.
I'm just not a casserole fan. I don't really eat casseroles of any sorts.
I guess now that I think about it, green bean casserole is really the only one that I like when it comes to casseroles. But
Like casserole, it's too there's usually too dense for me.
that is true. I definitely I like to do like a small scoop, just like a little bit,
I
because
don't
it
even
is
like
very filling.
I don't even like green bean casserole. But I like plain green beans, just
That's
not
true.
casseroled.
Casserole. That's funny.
But I could skip right over Thanksgiving and I could go straight to Christmas. I busted out my new Christmas tree mug this morning. The one I got from Aldi. It was only $3. Such a steal. And now I really just want to decorate for Christmas.
I mean, that's fair. I know Christmas is the big one. I will say when it comes to Christmas, I do prefer like Christmas aspects more than Thanksgiving. For example, Christmas themed drinks from like restaurants or coffee places. I almost always like the Christmas flavors more than the fall or Thanksgiving flavors. Same with, honestly, a lot of the, I know I talked that I like Thanksgiving food, but I also like Christmas ham. It's like one of my favorite things too.
Oh, you see, I get Christmas ham, I get Easter ham, I get ham many times.
I mean, I love ham though.
A Christmas ham is like nothing special to me.
It definitely is for me because I get it like maybe twice a year. Because there's no way that I'm making like a ham just on like, I don't know, a random Tuesday.
Yeah, but there's nothing stopping you from making a ham on a random Tuesday.
I guess that's true. Maybe I could.
You could. You can make whatever food you want any time of year. Like there's no law saying you can't cook up a turkey when it's not Thanksgiving.
That is true.
It's just hard to find turkeys when it's not Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I guess that's a pretty big aspect. I did want to ask though, because I know Christmas is your favorite, but what part of Christmas is your favorite?
All the lights, looking at the lights on people's houses.
Yeah, I do like that too.
I like seeing all the light displays, going to the arboretum and looking at all the lights, the zoo lights, literally all the lights.
The arboretum lights are really cool. We've done that a couple of times.
They are really cool. One year for Christmas, I was in Dublin and we went to the Dublin Zoo. And the light displays there were like next level. It's like nothing I'd ever seen before. It was so cool.
That sounds cool.
I loved Ireland over Christmas time, all the Christmas markets and stuff.
Oh, we'll have to go to a Christmas market this year too.
Yeah, but there's like not a whole ton of options.
No, there's only one big one near us. Actually, there's two, but one's farther because there's one like in Chicago, right?
Yeah, they do the Chris Kindle market.
Yeah, the big one.
And I don't really know of any other markets other than that one. So today's episode is Aardvark November picks. I'm obsessed with Aardvark, as we all know. But this month I found it kind of difficult to choose a book. But I guess you'll just have to try and figure out which one I might have chosen.
I can't wait to guess.
If you're unfamiliar, if you haven't paid attention to any of our other Aardvark episodes or Book of the Month episodes, Aardvark is a book subscription box that's monthly, and you get to pick a book to put into this subscription box once a month. And it's a little present to yourself every month, and I love it. So our first November option is American Rapture by C.J. Lead, and this is sci-fi and horror. A virus is spreading across America, transforming the infected and making them feral with lust. Sophie, a good Catholic girl, must traverse the hellscape of the Midwest to try to find her family while the world around her burns. Along the way, she discovers there are far worse fates than dying a virgin. The end times are coming. Obviously, this sounds very ominous. That's it. That's the entire synopsis. I personally am not a fan of sci-fi. Anyone who knows me knows that I have DNF'd. I did not finish every single sci-fi book I've ever picked up. So it's just not my genre.
I'm very curious what the sci-fi aspect of this is, because normally when there's like angels and demons, it's more fantasy. So that part I think is interesting.
But if you look at the first sentence, there's a virus spreading across America, transforming the infected and making them feral with lust. I think that's the sci-fi aspect.
Oh, okay. So it's like an allegory to angels and demons.
Probably.
That makes sense. This one seems interesting. I actually I've always liked the premise of like infected and zombies and things like that. So
Yeah,
interesting one.
I'm not sure how that one is. I actually have never even heard of it. I have not seen it on like anybody's radar anywhere.
Maybe it's the sleeper pick. No one sees it or hears about it, and then it turns out to be really good.
I mean, possibly. Just sci-fi's just anytime I see sci-fi, I'm like I will pass. I feel like I've tried it enough where I'm like I know it's not my thing.
I think that's fair. Sci-fi can be a lot like fantasy, where the terms in the concepts can be just like so over the top that it can be really hard to follow. That happens to me a lot with the sci-fi books that I've read, where they'll try to be really ambitious with their wording, and then you just get totally lost in the terms and the zip zaps and the doodads, and I'm like, I have no idea what's happening anymore.
Yep, accurate.
All right, next up on our list is Memorials by Richard Chismar. 1983. 3 students from a small college embark on a week-long road trip to film a documentary on roadside memorials for their American Studies class. The project starts out as a fun adventure with long stretches of empty road and nightly campfires where they begin to open up with one another. But as they venture deeper into the Appalachian backwoods, the atmosphere begins to darken. They notice more and more of the memorials feature a strange, unsettling symbol hinting at a sinister secret. Paranoia sets in when it appears that they are being followed. Their vehicle is tampered with overnight, and some of the locals appear to be anything but welcoming. Before long, the students can't help but wonder if these roadside deaths were really random accidents, or is there something terrifying at work here?
It sounds creepy.
This is very creepy.
This is also horror, so it makes sense that it sounds creepy, but it sounds like a unique concept.
Definitely. I don't think I've heard of this idea. I really like the idea of it being the roadside memorials. That's super cool.
I like that it takes place in the 80s.
Yeah, true. That's a good era for horror, I would say.
Yeah, were the 80s like just really scary or something?
I wouldn't know, but
I wouldn't know either, but
based on what they write about it, sounds like it.
I do like the setting of the Appalachian backwoods. I think that just gives it an even spookier factor.
Yeah, definitely. The like mountains and the woods and all that kind of stuff in that area.
Well, our next one is The Scholar and the Last Fairy Door by H.G. Perry. And this is a historical fantasy. All they needed to break the world was a door and someone to open it. Camford, 1920. Gilded and glittering, England's secret magical academy is no place for Clover, a commoner with neither connections nor magical blood. She's there only to find a cure for her brother Matthew, one of her few survivors of a deadly fairy attack on the battlefields of World War I. When Clover catches the eye of golden boy Alden Lennox Fontaine and his friends, doors that were previously closed to her are flung wide open, and as soon as she finds herself enmeshed in the seductive world of the country's magical aristocrats. But the summer she spends in Alden's orbit leaves a fateful mark. Months of joyous friendship and mutual study come crashing down when experiments go awry, and old secrets are unearthed. The consequences will only be truly understood many years later when it's too late. I mean, so obviously, magical academies, England, fairies, all that kind of jazz. Sounds interesting.
I love when a story does World War I instead of World War II, because I think World War II is not overdone. I think there's still room there, but I feel like it's so often anything besides World War I. So I think that's a really cool idea to have it in during that time frame.
That's true. It doesn't look like it's like set during World War I though, because it's only one guy who was a survivor of a ferry attack in World War One.
Oh, I guess that's true. So I guess it's right after.
Yeah, 1920. I do like the 1920s as a setting. I think it's a time period that not many authors use when they are writing historical novels. So I feel like anything that says 1920, I'm instantly drawn to.
The 1920s, too, with the idea of that, like, aristocrats and things. I guess the Roaring 20s was more America, not England. But
Right.
who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there could be magical aristocrats anywhere. But fairies, scholars, magic. I like those elements.
Yeah, me too. Well, fairies not so much, but magical and the like. I dig. Next up is Like Mother by Susan Reiger. This is literary fiction. Detroit, 1960. Lila Pereira is 2 years old when her angry, abusive father has her mother committed to an asylum. Lila never sees her mother again. 3 decades later, having mustered everything she has, brains, charm, talent, blonde hair, Lila rises to the pinnacle of American media as a powerful, brilliant executive editor of the Washington Globe. Lila unapologetically prioritizes her career, leaving the rearing of her daughters to her generous husband, Joe. He doesn't mind until he does. But Grace, their youngest daughter, feels abandoned. She wishes her mother would attend PTA meetings, not White House Correspondents' dinners. As she grows up, she cannot shake her resentment. She wants more from under Lila's shadow, yet the more she resists, the more Lila seems to shape her life. Grace becomes a successful reporter, even publishing a best-selling book about her mother. In the process of writing it, she realizes how little she knows about her own family. Did Lila's mother, Grace's grandmother, die in that asylum? Is refusal to look back on the only way to create a future? How can you ever be yourself, Grace wonders, if you don't know where you came from? What are your thoughts?
So this is a generational story, and I always think those can be interesting.
I like the idea of how, like you said, it's generational. So I'm assuming we're going to get point of views from Lila, her daughter Grace, maybe even the grandmother. I like the idea of this one. This one seems a lot more, it's a lot deeper story than I originally thought when I first kind of skimmed this. There's a lot to it. I guess literary fiction can be like that, though. Very deep.
Yeah, literary fiction is okay, in my opinion. Sometimes I like it, sometimes I don't. It honestly depends on the subject matter. But I mean, this one does have, I guess, a journalist as a character, and that always intrigues me. So I go back and forth on if I would like this one. Maybe I'd give it a shot.
I couldn't say. I don't know if I've ever read any literary fiction.
Literary fiction is like, it's more of like a deeper story. It has like deeper themes. It's mostly character driven. So you basically get to see these characters making decisions to further the plot. But again, it has like these underlying deeper themes and messages, and you don't really have to like read between the lines, but like sometimes if you do, like it's more like a profound story.
Interesting.
Literary fiction doesn't have to be intimidating. I used to always think it was because it literally has the word literary in it. And I'm like, this is going to remind me of school and having to read all these classics for English class. But literary fiction is not like those at all.
Yeah, I definitely get the vibe of like book report. I don't know why. Whenever I see these literary fictions, and it must be because of school, I felt like a lot of that stuff we read was mostly literary fiction.
Our next Aardvark pick is Perfect Fit by Claire Gilmore, and this is a romance. Josephine Davis has spent her entire 20s building Revenant, a fashion brand headquartered in downtown Austin. When her biggest investor orders Josie to hire a consultant, the last person she expects to be working with is Will Grant, the twin brother of her ex-best friend. Sure, Will and Josie may have shared one mistake of a kiss during senior spring break 9 years ago, but they've never been friends. She remembers him as moody. He always thought of her as shallow. Romance isn't on the table for either of them until they blink, and realize there's a reason they can't stay away from each other. But there's Will's sister to consider, whom Josie hasn't spoken with since their falling out. Not to mention, Will and Josie live 1,700 miles apart. And it's not like she has time for a boyfriend anyway when she's an overworked CEO. As Josie's burnout looms while she falls deeper and harder for Will, she contends with the fact that eventually she'll have to make a choice. Stay alone to be productive, or slow down to be in love. So I actually read a Claire Gilmore book, I want to say at the beginning of the year, and it was fine. It was a workplace romance book, kind of like how this one seems like it might be. And it was just like your average romance for me, not to like bash on the author here. It just like wasn't my thing, but I know a lot of people that really loved it and really loved her writing and the characters and the story, but that book just wasn't for me. I can't even remember the name of it, but I will say Perfect Fit kind of does sound more like my type of romance book than her previous book. So maybe I'd give it a try. I'm not sure, possibly. So the thing she did with the other book I read by her, I am like super blanking on the name. Maybe people will know what it is. It's got a purple cover. I just felt like she was trying to fit so many romance tropes into one book. And I really hope Perfect Fit doesn't do that same kind of thing. Because there were just like way too many tropes. Like way too many. Like if this one just narrows it down to like maybe like 2 or 3 or 4, not like 8, it'd be better.
Oh, wow. 8 is a lot.
Yeah, I can't even remember. I wrote in my review for it that there was a lot. So Perfect Fit, I mean, it does sound promising. So maybe I will give this author a second chance and try it out.
Yeah, you did have a redemption with the book that you spoke about earlier today. So maybe this could be another one.
Yeah, possibly.
I don't have much to say about romances. I think everyone knows how I feel. I don't dislike them. I just think they're not my speed. That's a good way to put it. Though I will say I liked Akotar, which is, I would say, well, that's definitely romantasy for sure.
Right. Akotar is still like more fantasy. At least the first book is more fantasy.
I mean, I really liked it, but my least favorite parts were the romance parts. So,
well, yeah, maybe romance isn't your genre of choice.
That said, I do think this one, I like the idea of it. It just reminds me of the movie The Proposal with Sandra Bullock and Ryan Reynolds, which was a good movie. So maybe this will be a good book.
Maybe.
Last one up on our list has many difficult words that I'm going to struggle through. So I apologize.
I know, I'm sorry I gave you the one that has all the really hard names.
I know. Normally I try to like prepare myself. Anyway, last up on our list is Eleanor of Avignon by Elizabeth Delosier. And this is historical fiction. Province 1347. Eleanor Elia Blanchette is a young midwife and herbalist with remarkable skills. But as she's learned the day her mother died, the most dangerous thing a woman can do is draw attention to herself. She attends patients in her home city of Avignon, spends time with her father and twin sister, gathers herbs in the surrounding woods, and dreams of freedom to pursue her calling without fear. In a chance encounter, Aaliyah meets Guigo de Chauliac, the enigmatic personal physician to the powerful Pope Clement, and strikes a deal with him to take her on as his apprentice. Under Chauliac's tutelage, she hones her skills as a healer, combining her knowledge of folk medicine with anatomy, astrology, and surgical techniques. Then, 2 pieces of earth-shattering news. The Black Death has made landfall in Europe, and the disgraced Queen Joanna is coming to Avignon to stand trial for her husband's murder. She is pregnant and in need of a midwife, a role only Aaliyah can fill. The queen's childbirth approaches as the plague spreads like wildfire, leaving half of the city dead in its wake. The people of Avignon grow desperate for a scapegoat, and a group of religious heretics launch a witch hunt, one that could cost Aaliyah, an intelligent, talented, unwed woman, everything.
This seems like a sweeping story.
I love everything about it. I really do.
I mean, it sounds really interesting. I like that it takes place in the 1300s. It seems like it's going to have a lot of like old-timey things. Obviously, it is historical fiction, but the characters already seem like they're going to be really, really awesome.
Yeah. They have incredible names, which I feel like are very fitting for that time period as well.
Oh yeah, this just sounds really good. I mean, I like that it follows a midwife in the 1300s. I mean, it's got to be a unique story in some sense.
Yeah, that's true. Now I have to decide which one I would choose.
Yeah, it's a difficult decision. I think we are 3-1 for picking, and I think I'm winning. So the pressure's on.
I thought it was 3-2. Didn't I get the last one?
Maybe it is 3-2. I think it is 3-2.
Is it 4-2? How many of these have we done?
We've done 4.
Oh, right. And then you missed one time.
I missed once.
So
yes.
you're 3 out of 4, and I'm 2 out of 4.
Correct.
Yes, that sounds right. Okay. You already picked yours, didn't you?
Yeah, I already got my box this month. I really don't know which one you would choose. This is really hard.
This is tough for me. I don't know which one I want. It's like they're all just interesting enough, you know? There's not one thing that completely jumps out at me, but at the same time, looking between all of them, I find multiples very interesting.
I will say I did struggle to pick my box this month because I just could not decide. And it's because mostly all these books had like something about them that I wasn't sure if I would like.
I could see that.
So I guess it's going to be hard for you to decide which one I would pick as well.
Yeah, see, I'm having the exact same issue. Like, I'm looking at these and I'm like, that seems interesting, but then I don't think I would like that aspect. And, rinse and repeat with each one. Okay, I don't want to take up any more time. So I am, you know what? I'll go with my gut.
Which one did I choose?
I think you picked, and if I'm wrong, I would be very embarrassed, The Scholar and The Last Fairy Door.
I did not pick that one.
All right, hold on. Let me get a second guess. Is it Perfect Fit? Did you pick the romance?
I did not pick the romance.
Okay. That at least I don't feel bad for, because I always want to lean towards the romance because I know you like that one. I honestly don't know. Otherwise, I'm just going to guess like through all of them.
Do you want to know which one I picked?
Was it Eleanor?
I did not pick Eleanor.
I guess that's not surprising. Was it Memorials?
I did pick Memorials.
Oh, yeah, that was pretty low on my list.
You got there finally. But yeah, no, Memorials just sounds spooky and it sounds creepy and it sounds like the perfect fall vibes, and it is fall and I kind of like to seasonally read. So it made sense.
I definitely thought you would have skipped over that because we just passed Halloween and that one's got more Halloween vibes to it. But you're right. It does have like fall kind of falls into that. Pun not intended.
It does, yes. So I'm looking forward to getting it. I do have a ton of backlist Aardvark books that I really need to read. I haven't been doing a good job at keeping up with my Aardvark reads. So maybe I'll have to prioritize some of those for the last 2 months of the year. 2024 is almost over. And
That's
I need to get through these Aardvark books. All right, so I am going to go out on a limb here and say that you would choose Eleanor of Avignon.
That is correct.
Haha, I know you so well. Ultimately, the whole thing about just being like the 1300s really made me feel like you would read it.
Yes, absolutely. I don't know what it is specifically, and I guess that's part of it, is like the culmination of all the different vibes and ideas just seem super interesting. And though it's historical fiction, which is not very common for me to read, I think this one is up my alley.
Historical fiction can be really good.
And you've talked a lot about it, and a lot of your, I guess, recent 5 stars, at least this year, right, have been historical fiction. There's been at least 2 of them.
I find that I mostly rate historical fiction between 4 and 5 stars.
Yeah. Wow. Maybe I'll have to start reading more of it.
You might have to, because some of them are super interesting, especially when you find the ones that are based on real events and it's just the people that are fictional.
Right.
It's really good.
So that places me at 2 for 5, and you are 4 for 5.
I'm just so good at guessing.
I'm not very good at guessing.
You just need to be inside my head.
See, that's the problem, is you are a mood reader.
I am.
And so your mood can shift on a dime.
I guess, yeah, I'm always unpredictable with what I'm going to pick in these subscription boxes.
Because who knew that the horror book would still be on your radar, even though it's fall, compared to now you're loving Christmas, which usually has romance vibes to it, which is why I was leaning romance in the beginning. Then I was like, maybe somewhere in between. And that's why I went with The Scholar.
Well, we'll have to see what my mood is in December.
That's true. Maybe I'll be more accurate then, because you'll be like, hopefully Christmas themed or Christmas in the mood for Christmas, is what I'm trying to say.
I hope so. Anyway, these books all sound interesting in some aspect. To recap, we had Eleanor of Avignon by Elizabeth Delosier, Perfect Fit by Claire Gilmore, Like Mother by Susan Reiger, The Scholar and the Last Fairy Door by H.G. Perry, Memorials by Richard Chismar, and American Rapture by C.J. Lead. Good variety of genres here, good variety of themes and plots and whatnot, all that jazz. So Aardvark, I love Aardvark because they usually do have a good variety of genres for their options. I just love Aardvark. I usually never know what to say when people ask me why I love Aardvark. I just love them.
I do think they have a really good spread every single month. Like every time we talk about these, there's never two books that are very much overlapping. Like I believe we have two historical fictions, right? And they're completely different from one another.
Right, because the one is a historical fantasy. So that one has the fantasy element.
Oh, right.
And
right.
the other one is the 1300s. And I feel like that one could be really interesting.
But still just proves my point that they have just very diverse options. It's not like you're choosing kind of the same books or anything like that every single time.
That's true. Aardvark is great. I love them. So we decided who would pick what. And now I need to know what you are obsessing over this week.
It's kind of hard to say. I don't know if I've had a one obsession this week. I don't even know if I'd really say I have multiple. Like, I've been playing some video games, but I haven't really been obsessing over them. I didn't read that much. I guess kind of like maybe Wikipedia is what I've been obsessed with, I guess if you could call it that. Because I do find myself opening Wikipedia probably more. Yeah, I would definitely say more than like any social media app recently. So I could probably pull up my screen time to double check. But, well, I definitely still watch YouTube more than anything else. But, so I guess, yeah, Wikipedia would have to be my choice of obsession.
That's an interesting obsession.
I think it's a relatively good one, I hope.
I mean, I guess you're learning things from it.
For the most part. What have you been obsessed with this week?
I've been obsessed with Married at First Sight.
Ugh, that show.
There's just something about it. I can't look away. It's a dumpster fire, but I can't look away. I just seeing these couples who are complete strangers marrying each other and then having to live together, go on a honeymoon, all that kind of stuff. It's just so interesting to me. And I need to see like who's going to work out, who's not going to work out. Obviously, I like to spoil things for myself. So I've already Googled who is still together and who is not. So I already know that. But just seeing it play out, like even right off the bat when they met each other at the altar, I like could kind of see like, oh, they're going to work out. They're not going to work out. So it's just interesting to see how their experimental marriages unfold. Because Married at First Sight is a social experiment. It's supposed to be a social experiment, at least in the form of a reality TV show. So they're married for 2 months and then they have to decide if they're going to stay together or get divorced.
I will say out of all of those shows that are in that genre, not just reality TV, but like relationship TV or something, I'm not sure what you want to call it, Married at First Sight is kind of one of the better ones because the initial premise was a social experiment. Like they were actually trying to do something with it. Now,
Hmm.
how much of that was curated, I don't know. But I still think it's better than like 90 Day Fiance, which quite often you're just like, oh no.
I love 90 Day Fiance too, especially the most recent Before the 90 Days season. I'm loving it.
I mean, I watch it, but that one is definitely like you made the joke about a dumpster fire. That is a train wreck, a car wreck, a everything wreck, and you can't take your eyes away from it.
I would say it's less of a wreck than Married at First Sight.
Really?
Yeah. Because,
Wow.
I mean, it's not a social experiment. It's like actually just people who met each other.
I guess maybe I'm in the wrong because I almost find that worse somehow.
Well, I guess it does like kind of make me lose my faith in humanity when I see them like doing stupid things.
Right.
But I don't know. There's just something about 90 Day Fiance. I think it's like one of the best reality shows out there right now.
I will say, especially on 90 Day Fiance, when they have like a good couple, it immediately restores so much because I'm like, even, it just showed us like five different couples who are all definitely weirdos in their own way. And then you meet like one couple who's like a little odd, but they mean really well and they work really well and they care about each other like genuinely. And you're like, okay, you've brought me back.
Yeah, and that's the nice part about 90 Day Fiance. But also, I like seeing all the drama unfold too.
I can see that. When it's like, I don't know, there's different levels because sometimes it's a drama you're like, you got to get out of there. Like, you should not be doing that. And then there's other drama where it's just like, ooh, what's gonna,
Yeah, what's
what's the
gonna
tea?
happen?
Like, yeah.
Yeah, so I love it. I love Married at First Sight. I love 90 Day Fiance. I guess I'm like kind of obsessed with reality television right now. I'll have to see if Holiday Baking Championship is coming back soon. I'd watch that again.
Oh, that is a good one. I do like that one a lot.
I love that show on the Food Network. Amazing. So I'm obsessed with reality TV, and you are obsessed with Wikipedia. So I guess I'm the one rotting my brain over here.
Hey, yeah, that's usually me. You're
Yeah.
usually like obsessed with like, I don't know, an art or a craft. And I'm like, I love video games. So,
I guess so. Well, I know you haven't read a whole lot this week, but do you sort of have an idea of what you're going to be reading this week?
yes, I think I'm finally going to start. See, I keep going back and forth. Part of me wants to read the next book in the Akotar series, but then the other part of me wants to read the book that you got me over there, A Little Hatred by Joe Abercrombie. So I can't decide. It's going to be one of those, though. I want to read a physical book again, and I want to read something in between the next Witcher book.
Well, I believe A Little Hatred is the start of a new trilogy.
That's true, which means
So,
all of the books that I've been reading are part of series or trilogies.
so I guess the question is, do you want to start a new series or do you want to continue a series you've already started?
That's a great point. I guess I could just flip flop between Akotar and The Witcher until I finish one of them,
You could.
which The Witcher definitely would be finished first, but
Or you could start one, and if you realize you are not in the mood for it, you could just read the other one.
that's also true. How big is the next Akotar book that I would be reading?
It's quite significantly longer than the first one. I think the first Akotar book is like 350-ish, 380-ish pages. It's quite short compared to the rest of the series. And I think the second one, it's in the 500 to 600 page realm.
That's a lot of pages for me. Maybe I'll just pick a random book that I haven't read on my shelf. I think I have like two of them over there that I haven't read yet.
You can read whatever your heart desires.
We'll see. What about you? What are you reading this week?
Well, so I literally just finished Ask for Andrea, and I haven't really decided what I'm going to read next. I know I have a couple of books that I need to read for book features, but I don't know if I want to read those just yet. I do have The Stone Witch of Florence from the library that I could start, which is one that I previously mentioned in an episode. It's about the one witch who's like taking the jewels and the relics from these places, and it takes place kind of like in medieval times in Italy. So that one kind of sounds interesting. I just don't know if I'm in the mood for a fantasy right this moment, although it is due at the library in like 10 days. So I should start it soon. But also, I did get Hexed by Emily McIntyre in the mail that I do need to read. It's part of the Never After series, standalones of dark, twisted romances. They're like fractured fairy tales, is what the author likes to describe them as. Because I recently read Wretched, and that was a 5-star for me, and it was amazing, and I loved it. So I'm like, maybe I want to continue that and get another 5-star, hopefully out of Hexed. Because that's a dark, fractured fairy tale based on The Little Mermaid. So that really intrigues me on how she's going to do that. And also, I have some Kindle reads too. And I have my entire shelves out there. I could read a past Aardvark book. I have a lot of options.
I was going to say, you are very spoiled for choice.
I just don't know what I'm going to be in the mood for. So it all comes down to that.
It is hilarious between us where you're like, describing literally dozens of books that you could read and you can't choose. And then I'm over here like, I've got like 3 to pick from and I can't seem to pick which one. So,
you can read like any of my 200 books that are on the shelves
well, that's
too.
true too. It's not like you're going to be like, no, those are my eyes only.
Not allowed to read that one.
I know, but still, I just find it funny.
Yeah. So, to be determined, I guess, is what I'm reading this week.
Well, it's a good problem to have, I would say.
I guess, but I mean, as a reader, it's really stressful.
Yeah, I'll give you that. I mean, I'm stressed and like I said, I've got like 3 to pick from.
Yeah, we'll see. I'll decide eventually. I think I'm more into like the thriller mood as of late. So it might be a thriller that I read next.
There you go. At least you got something on the mind.
Yes, I have some idea. So this was another fantastic episode. I loved getting to go over these Aardvark picks, loved getting to hear what you're looking forward to about the holidays, because they are quickly approaching. Not to scare anyone, but the holidays are coming up quick. And I'm just not ready. I don't know what to get anyone for Christmas. I do my Christmas shopping very last minute, and that is a habit I'm trying to break. So there's that. Anyways, I hope everyone has a fantastic reading week, a fantastic week all around. Maybe start, getting some ideas in your head for holiday gifts, because you're going to need those.
It's going to come very quickly. I think everybody every year always forgets that November, for some reason, is way shorter than it actually is.
I know. But then, there's still Black Friday. So a bunch of people wait until Black Friday. I personally am not a Black Friday shopper.
That's true. A lot of people are doing them online again this year, though. And they start at like 2 weeks from now or something. Like they start them super early. So, but the really good deals are still Black Friday. So
I know, every year it's crazy. The holidays end and I'm like, okay, I've got all this time now. It's going to come up very slow. I'm always wrong. It always comes up very fast. Maybe that's just me getting older. The years are flying by.
That's what they say.
I know, they do say that. It's only a matter of time now before it's the holidays. So, if anything, I hope you pick up a good book this week. It is chilly outside. Maybe if you have a fireplace, like a fire inside with a nice book, a nice hot coffee, some hot chocolate, maybe hot tea if that's not your thing. Just like get all cozy and read and enjoy it before the busyness of the holidays. And happy reading!